Undercover boss applies for a job at his own store, freezes when he hears the interviewer. The man in the lobby wore a worn hoodie and faded jeans, his hands folded over a job application he had filled out moments earlier. The security guard barely looked up. Another applicant, just another face. But if anyone had looked a little closer, they might have noticed the way his eyes scanned the place. Not with nervous curiosity, but with the precision of someone who knew every inch of it. Because he did. That man was Nathan Reed, the founder and CEO of RidgeMart, the fastest-growing chain of electronic superstores in the Midwest. And he was applying for a minimum wage job at one of his own locations. No one at this branch knew who he was, and that was exactly the point. He hadn't come for publicity. There were no cameras, no press team, just a man who had built something from the ground up and now wasn't sure if it still reflected the values he once believed in. A tip from a former store manager had brought him here. Anonymous, vague, but unsettling. You think you know your stores. You don't. Come see for yourself. Start with West Side. So here he was, West Side, the store that had received glowing reports from regional managers and perfect compliance scores. But something about it felt off, too polished, too rehearsed. He remembered when he used to walk the floors of his earliest locations, helping customers find the right charger or answering a cashier's question about return policy. It had been human, messy, real. This felt sanitized. When they called his fake name, he stood. Ethan Morris? He followed a young woman through the sliding doors into a small interview room. She was no older than 30, wearing a name tag that read, Chloe, Assistant Manager. She didn't smile. Her posture was stiff, her eyes tired. Still, she gestured for him to sit with mechanical politeness. So, she said, tapping on a cheap tablet, Ethan, why do you want to work at RidgeMart? Nathan opened his mouth to respond, then stopped. Her voice, it was familiar, not just the tone, the rhythm, the hesitation between words, like someone trying to suppress an accent. He studied her face, and in an instant it hit him. Chloe wasn't her real name. Her name was Lisa Chong, and 5 years ago, she had been one of RidgeMart's brightest stars, a management trainee who had once written him a heartfelt email about what the company meant to her. He remembered replying personally, offering mentorship. Then a year later, she vanished. No forwarding info, no formal resignation. Just gone. Now she was here, under a different name, interviewing under a false smile. Nathan's throat tightened. Why? What had happened to her? And why was she hiding? He played along. I've always admired RidgeMart's mission, he said. I want to be part of something that values its customers and its employees. Lisa, no, Chloe, barely nodded. She clicked through a few screens, asked generic questions. Nathan answered carefully, slipping between his public persona and his disguise. Every word she spoke, every flicker of emotion on her face, deepened his sense that something was wrong. This wasn't just about corporate culture. This was personal. After the interview, she handed him a visitor's pass and said they'd call if he was selected. He nodded, left the room, but didn't leave the building. Instead, he slipped into the customer restroom, changed into a different hoodie he had stuffed in his bag, and re-entered the store through the main entrance 20 minutes later. This time as a shopper, he walked the aisle slowly, listening, watching. What he saw made his stomach clench. Employees whispering about cut hours and target lists. One staffer snapping at a teenage customer. A backroom door left ajar, revealing crates marked for donation being opened and sorted, items pocketed and reshelved as open box discounts. Nathan made mental notes. Names, faces, phrases. Chloe, Lisa wasn't the problem. She was surviving in a system that had clearly mutated into something he didn't recognize. That night, he returned to his hotel and reviewed archived employee records. Lisa Chong had been transferred twice before Westside. No complaints. No write-ups. Then, suddenly, a suspension. A vague entry. Failure to meet management expectations. That same week, her ID had been deactivated. He dug deeper. A private HR note flagged her file with an internal memo. Do not rehire. Why? He called Jasmine, his longtime HR director. Trusted, sharp, loyal. Jazz, he said, I need you to look up something for me. Off the books. Lisa Chong. And tell me everything. There was a pause. Nathan, that name's blacklisted. From way back. Something about a policy breach. But honestly, the file's thin. Too thin. Want me to dig? Please. Quietly. Over the next few days, Nathan continued his undercover shifts. He was hired. Chloe never showed recognition, but her eyes lingered a little longer than necessary when he passed her in the break room. Maybe she suspected. Maybe she didn't. Then, during a truck delivery, he witnessed a scene that made everything click. A supervisor named Trent yelled at a new hire for asking where to log the incoming inventory. You don't log it till I say so, he barked. You want hours or not? Later that night, Nathan watched Trent escort the same new hire to the back lot. 15 minutes later, the hire left alone. No words, just vanished. Nathan followed Trent inside. Listen outside the office. Another one gone. Trent said into the phone. No, she didn't ask questions. Just like Lisa. Yeah, I'll flag her file. Nathan backed away. This wasn't disorganization. It was a pattern. Lisa had asked the wrong question. Someone made her disappear. He met Jasmine 2 days later at a coffee shop on the edge of town. She slid a folder across the table. It's worse than we thought. Lisa reported falsified returns. Trent, inventory fraud. It went up the chain, but someone deleted the investigation record. They buried her. Nathan stared at the pages. His stomach churned. His company had failed her, and maybe others. It gets darker, Jasmine added. Trent's tied to a network of fake vendors, shell companies. He's laundering stock through returns, padding numbers. We think someone at Regional is protecting him. Nathan looked out the window. Rain streaked the glass. Time to bring Lisa back. He returned to West Side the next day, called Chloe Lisa into the back office. She stood stiffly, arms crossed. We need to talk, he said. She blinked. I know who you are, he added gently. And I know what they did. She didn't deny it, just exhaled slowly. I tried, she said. I tried to follow the rules, to report it right. But Trent, he made sure I vanished. I needed the job, so I came back. Different name, different everything. I'm sorry, he said. I should have seen it. She shook her head. They're still doing it. You know that, right? It didn't stop with me. I know, and I need your help to stop them. Her eyes studied his. Then she nodded. One condition, she said. You don't walk away when it gets ugly. I won't. That night, Nathan sent an encrypted email to the board. Subject line: Immediate ethics investigation requested, RidgeMart West Side. Attached: audio files, photos, testimonies. But the next morning, when he arrived at the store, Chloe was gone, her locker empty, her schedule wiped, and on his phone, a message from a blocked number. You should have stayed in the boardroom. Nathan stood in the break room, phone in hand, staring at the message. You should have stayed in the boardroom. He read it again, then again. No sender, no trace. But the timing wasn't coincidence. Chloe, Lisa, was gone, her locker emptied, her shift erased like she never existed. His first instinct was panic, but it passed quickly. This wasn't fear. This was confirmation. He had struck a nerve. And now they were reacting, not hiding, moving. That meant they were vulnerable. He called Jasmine. She's gone, he said. I know, Jasmine replied. She just showed up at my apartment. Shaken but safe. Relief hit Nathan like a wave. He hadn't realized how much he was holding his breath. They tried to scare her off again, but she kept the flash drive. She's bringing it to you tonight. That night, in the quiet of Nathan's rented condo, Lisa handed him the small black drive without a word. He plugged it into his laptop. Files open one by one, spreadsheets, payout logs, shipping reports with doctor numbers, a video file labeled only with a date. He clicked. The screen lit up with grainy footage from a break room camera. Trent, speaking to a man Nathan didn't recognize. The voice said, "Make it look like shrink. Don't flag it. We run it through Byron's code and mark a donation loss." Nathan froze the frame. The man's face. It wasn't just a mid-level player. It was Jeffrey Rowland, a senior regional executive, one of the untouchables who had been with the company since the early expansion years. The kind of guy who gave speeches about integrity at annual meetings. Trent had protection, and it came from the top. Nathan looked at Lisa. "This changes everything," he said. "We can't just go to the board. Not yet." "So what do we do?" she asked. "We go deeper," he replied. "We make it impossible to ignore." For the next 5 days, Nathan and Lisa ran a quiet operation. Jasmine fed them HR files from offsite. Nathan returned to Westside Undercover at night with a dummy access badge, logging security patterns and shipment data. Lisa traced connections between vendors listed in Trent's return logs and a group of LLCs registered to a single P.O. box in Nevada. All roads circled back to Jeffrey Rowland. He wasn't just protecting the fraud. He was likely orchestrating it. The final piece came from an ex-employee, a woman named Marissa, who had worked inventory before being fired for inaccuracy. Jasmine found her, got her to talk. Marissa confirmed it. False shrinkage reports were coded through software tweaks written by a freelancer paid under a side agreement. She still had the old installer file. "They made us lie," she said, "or they made us leave." Nathan stared at the installer. It had Rowland's digital signature embedded in the metadata. Proof. Real, undeniable proof. That night, Nathan called an emergency board session. No one knew he was back in town. He walked into the headquarters alone, no press, no announcement. The boardroom was half full when he entered, half curious, half annoyed. Rowland was there, calm, smiling. "Nathan," he said coolly, "didn't expect you to show up in person. What's this all about?" Nathan placed a flash drive on the table. "It's about who we are, or who we've let ourselves become." He plugged it into the room's main screen. Files loaded, slides played, names, transactions, footage, and then Rowland's face. The room changed, slowly. Tension cracked through silence like a fracture splitting ice. Rowland stood. "This is manipulation," he said. "That footage is illegal." "But it's real," Nathan replied. "And there's more." He turned to the others. "I started this company to create something honest, to build a place where people matter. Somewhere along the line, we lost that. I take responsibility for that loss, but I won't let it stand." A voice at the end of the table spoke up. "What do you propose?" Nathan took a breath. Immediate termination of all executives connected to the fraud, full audit of vendor relationships, independent oversight committee, and reinstatement of whistleblowers with back pay and clean records. Rowland laughed. "This is a vendetta, not leadership." "No," Nathan said. "This is the cost of regaining our soul." The vote wasn't close. 11-2. Rowland was suspended on the spot. Security escorted him out. The following week, RidgeMart issued a full internal memo and a public commitment to transparency. Lisa returned to her name, her position, with a promotion. Jasmine was named Chief Culture Officer. Nathan gave no speeches, no press tours. He just showed up at stores, unannounced, unshaven, and walked the floors again, listening, asking, reconnecting. 1 month later, he received a package at his office. No return address. Inside was a RidgeMart name tag. It had belonged to Marissa, but scribbled across it in black ink was a warning. "You got one. There are others. Higher." Nathan turned it over. Inside the clip was a micro SD card, and on it, a list of executive names, half of whom he'd never met. And just like that, the story wasn't over. It was about to go global. If you want to know what Nathan finds next, subscribe to Beyond True Crime, because the deeper the company, the darker the secrets. And we're just getting started.